Christmas movies are a lot like country music in some ways. Some like them, and for others, it makes you want to gouge your eyes out when you see Tim McGraw. To be honest, I like Christmas movies, but the bad overwhelmingly outweighs the good in this genre. These are movies like Surviving Christmas, Jingle All The Way, The Search for Santa Paws, Black Christmas, I'll Be Home for Christmas, Four Christmases, Mixed Nuts. Okay? Santa Claus, Santa with Muscles, Santa's Sleigh, Billy Crystal's Life is a Holiday. I made that one up, but you get the point. There are many bad Christmas movies, but which one is the worst out of all of them? It's the video. Now obviously, I haven't seen every piece of crap that Santa decides to pinch off, so we need to make a couple rules here to decide which one's the worst. First, the movie has to be a theatrical release. Okay, so that cuts it down by 90%. This means that there will be no straight-to-DVD Christmas movies. I'm sorry, Jingle All The Way 2, but you'll have to wait until next year, because I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. This also means that Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and most importantly, Hallmark movies will not be considered in the lineup. So get out! Go away! Secondly, it has to be a Christmas movie. The movie has to specifically market itself as a Christmas movie. Okay? I know I'm gonna step on some toes here. This means that Gremlins, Rocky IV, and I'm sorry, Die Hard will not be considered, but you know what? Those aren't even bad movies. Okay? What the heck is this? So with those rules being in place, let's look at 3 different movies who I think have a shot at being the worst Christmas movie ever, and I'm gonna hurt some feelings. The 3 movies up for the worst are Deck the Halls, Home Alone 3, and White Christmas. Hold on! Hold on! Whoa, Nessie. But White Christmas is my great-great-great-great-grandmother's grandmother's favorite movie. I know it is, okay? Just wait. Just wait. All you gotta do is wait, you big hustler. Just hold on. We'll get to the why later. But first we gotta unpack these 3 movies.
Oh God, I really wish that hadn't happened.
Deck the Halls released in 2006, and on paper it seems like a good movie. But we all know that paper is paper, and paper is boring. The cast stars Matthew Broderick, Danny DeVito, Kristen Chenoweth, and Fred Armisen. Okay, this sounds like it may turn out to be a good movie. The plot centers around Steve, who wants a traditional Christmas, and his new neighbor Buddy, who feels like he's invisible in his life. So, Buddy decides the only way to not feel invisible is by lighting up his house so that it can be seen from space. This makes Steve angry because Buddy is ruining his Christmas by making noises and taking up all the attention in town. After all, he's supposed to be the Christmas guy. There are many cringeworthy moments in this movie, but what takes the cake for me is this Santa baby scene. The worst part about the scene is that Matthew Broderick yells out, "Who's your daddy?" multiple times.
Hey baby, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy?
Hey, I know we don't get along, but if there's one thing we can agree on, it's that catcalling women in front of the whole town is really fun. Couldn't agree more, especially if those women are our own daughters, am I right? Absolutely. After all, it's 2006, and objectifying women has never been easier. Here's what the trivia section in IMDb says about this movie. The main actors were unhappy on set. Kristen Chenoweth was still coping with her split from Aaron Sorkin. Danny DeVito flew in to film his scenes rather than interact with anyone. And Matthew Broderick could be found on set shaking his head in disbelief, repeatedly stating, "I've hit rock bottom." There are many shots that show Buddy's house lit up and spectacular, and they look pretty good. But that's really all the movie offers. This movie has no substance, badly written characters, and cast Matthew Broderick as the lead. Ferris Bueller's Day Off? More like gouge my eyes out with spoons. Moving on.
Little boys do have wild imaginations, don't they?
Alex gets sick with chickenpox and has to stay home from school alone. He also has in his possession a toy truck that contains a highly dangerous Air Force computer chip. A group of 4 thieves hell-bent on retrieving the chip for personal gain must break into the house and steal the computer chip. You know how this goes. Notice that I didn't say Christmas one time in that description. Alright, buddy, I'm calling a flag on the play. You said that this had to be a Christmas movie, and in your description, it does not seem like this is a Christmas movie at all. No, listen, I said it had to market itself as a Christmas movie. But if you look at the trailers for this movie, it doesn't market itself as a Christmas movie. It markets itself as an action, comedy, poop movie. That's a good argument, and you would have a point if this movie were called Chickenpox Boy Stays Home, but it's not. It's called Home Alone 3, and that is the problem. Just being associated with the first 2 Home Alone movies makes it a Christmas movie, because the first 2 Home Alone movies are Christmas movies, so you assume the third is as well. The Hangover 3 is still a hangover movie, even though it doesn't replicate the plot from the first 2. It's still a hangover movie because it's called The Hangover 3. Escape to Africa. In order to know why this movie is bad, we have to go back and take a look at the first 2 really quick.
Fuller, go easy on the Pepsi.
You see, the first 2 Home Alone movies, in my opinion, are really great classic Christmas movies. Both movies are distinctly different from each other, but essentially have the same plot. Kevin McAllister is left home alone while his parents go on a Christmas family vacation. Meanwhile, Harry and Marv, known as the Wet Bandits, try to break into a house and steal things, and in the case of the second one, murder a child.
I'm gonna murder that kid.
I'm gonna kill that kid!
I'm gonna kill myself!
Home Alone 3 follows that same plot, but replaces the characters and settings from the first 2, proving that what's special about Home Alone is not the plot. It's the cast of characters and the chemistry between them that makes the movie great. And I don't know how many Home Alones we have to make in order for them to get this thing. It doesn't work. You can't recreate it. There will never be another good recreation of Home Alone unless they bring back the original characters, which they can do, and they should, and it could be really great, but that's a different video. Moving on.
You're a disgrace to the outfit. You're soft.
Now, before I say anything, I realize that White Christmas does mean a lot to a lot of people during this Christmas time. I get that, but I will die on this burning bridge. I will! I'll do it! So if you don't like opinions, please make your way to the fact zone. The fact zone is different from the opinion zone. The grass is green, the sky is blue, and the earth is flat. Go ahead. Run in the fact zone. White Christmas stars Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye as Bob and Phil. They both serve in World War II, and Phil ends up saving Bob's life. In return, Bob agrees to become the next great song and dance act with Phil. After the war, they produce a very successful show and receive a letter from one of their old sergeants asking them to review their sister act to be in the show. Long story short, they all end up staying in a lodge in Vermont and find out that the commander of their platoon is the owner. To say thank you for all the commander has done and to help his failing end, they put on their show to attract patrons and invite all of his troops to the lodge and honor him by singing a song, and it's actually very sweet. And I'm not saying that this movie is a bad movie. It is not a bad movie. I just think it's a bad Christmas movie. If I said, hey, they're making a new movie called Sword Slayers, Attack of the Meatheads, and the first minute of the movie and the last minute of the movie were full with jaw-dropping action and scenes that were awesome, and but in the middle of the movie, it was just a plain hot dog on the floor, you would say, hey, that's a pretty bad action movie, but a pretty good hot dog movie. My argument fell apart there. I think that this movie could work as a patriotic American Independence Day movie. It has war themes, honoring of veterans, and an interesting take on life after World War II. Those don't scream Christmas to me, and that's why it's on this list. It's not that it's a bad movie.
So shall I go to sleep?
I just made a realization. Okay, I think I just figured this movie out, and I figured it out 2 days after I started editing, so here we are again. When these four go to Vermont, they sing on the train about how beautiful the snow will be when they get there. And when they get there, there is no snow, and one of the conductor people says, "Oh, there hasn't been snow since Thanksgiving." Yet in a later scene, when talking to the general, he says, "There'll be 6 inches of snow tonight, we'll be full up tomorrow." Then someone says, "Is that the weather forecast?" And then he responds by saying, "No, but if there's one thing I learned in the Army, it was to be positive, especially when you don't know what you're talking about." It's clear that it wasn't going to snow in his response, but he did have faith that it would. And it's also clear that his end wasn't going to be successful by the no customers that he's had. Then at the end of the movie, when they get all these new customers, the general is called away, and wouldn't you know it, it's snowing outside. And this got me thinking, and I hate thinking. This movie is called White Christmas not because it's trying to be a Christmas movie. It's a metaphor. There is no way that Vermont would get any more snow that winter, in the same way that there was no way that this general was going to see all these customers. And yet, there are customers. And yet, it does snow. It was meant to be a white Christmas after all, despite all of the odds. I think I learned something. I still don't think this is a Christmas movie. I just think it's more than a Christmas movie. I'm sorry to interrupt. I know there was no jokes in there, so pee pee poo poo, fart bucket. Okay, back to the video. All 3 of these movies, in my opinion, are subpar Christmas movies. And I think we have to throw out White Christmas because it means so much to people and it's a tradition, okay? I get it. That one's not the worst. We're throwing that one out. So it's between Home Alone 3 and Deck the Halls. But at least Deck the Halls was an original idea, even though it really didn't work. Home Alone 3 tried to recreate something that was already good and didn't do well. So, the worst Christmas movie of all time goes to Home Alone 3. It had a lot riding on it because it was the 3rd in the series, and it did not even come close to being as great as the first 2. It's the reason we have Home Alone 4 Taking Back the House, Home Alone 5 The Holiday Heist, Home Alone 6 Home Sweet Home Alone, Home Alone 7 Escape to Africa. It is a disgrace to the franchise, and now there are more bad Home Alone movies than there are good ones. And it all starts with Home Alone 3, and that makes it the worst Christmas movie ever. Now I want to know what you think the worst Christmas movie of all time is. Obviously it's Jingle All the Way 2, but that's a different story. Merry Christmas.